Vagina. Does it make you uncomfortable? In the classic cult-following film The Big Lebowski, feminist artist Maud Lebowski is introduced in a fittingly trippy scene, including naked aerial painting and the question, "Does the female form make you feel uncomfortable, Mr. Lebowski?" She then goes on to briefly discuss her work as highly vaginal, stating that men don't like to hear or say the word, but have no problem referring to their dicks, rods, or Johnsons. That awesome movie aside, forget for a moment whether or not that makes you uncomfortable. The more interesting question is why? Why does vagina make people uncomfortable? Believe it or not, it's not because it's just an inherently creepy word. Scrotum, in my opinion, is a far weirder word, but where's the social stigma on that? Or total creepers like ooze, masticate, or smegma? Nope, this is more about what the word represents, the female form, the uncovered, unredacted, uncensored female form, and the strength of the women who have them. To utter it, to celebrate it, represents a break from the patriarchy we wear like a weighted chastity belt. Yep, our society is very sexist. And let me stop you right there, naysayers. Yes, I have the right to vote. Yes, I can buy property, drive, marry who I want, not get married, run for office, bribe politicians, get bribed by rich sociopaths, etc., etc. But guess what? You can live in a sexist society while also enjoying rights granted to you by people who fought long and hard for equality. There's overt proof, like domestic violence cases, the one reported rape every 2 minutes, that's reported, anti-woman legislation, and moments where women are banned from speaking in a state legislature for using the word vagina. Yes, that really happened. By the way, a Michigan rep who later explained the ban to the press said that what Lisa Brown had said was so vile and disgusting that he could never bear to mention it in front of women or mixed company. But among his male colleagues who sit around and discuss the ban on both the word vagina and women's ability to regulate their own, he just can't stop saying it. I'll save my extensive right-wing battery for another time. The point is that sexism shows up in more than just bruises and headlines. It's in the language, in conversations and behaviors all around us. It is ubiquitous. And men and women stand to gain a fuck ton if we fight it. Not just so that we can say vagina and not feel weird, but so that we can protect vaginas. Not just from rape, but from regulation by the repugnant rejects on the right. So we can call ourselves feminists without feeling like we just committed ourselves to hating men and burning bras. So we can fight for equality. So say it with me now. Vagina. From tweets to marching in the streets, this is Act Out. Welcome to Act Out. I'm Eleanor Goldfield, and this is your tipping point. So, now that we've set the tone with talk of vaginas, let's talk feminism. Another dirty word? Nope, scrotum still sounds way worse. But feminism, even with its smoothly contoured sounds, is about as unwelcome in modern-day conversation as vagina. And like vagina, do you like how much I'm saying vagina? Silencing the word feminism is a thinly veiled attempt at covering up not only women's bodies, but their voices. However, this goes a lot further than just vaginal verbiage. This is about silencing the fight for equality, the insane notion that women should be treated equally in society. But no, feminism has been twisted and contorted into representing everything from men-hating lesbians to an old passé fight belonging to women in corsets and oversized hats. Men and women have shied away from this word as if it were the kid with mono at a potluck. Time magazine even suggested that we literally strike the word from our vocabulary. Way to go, Time. I hear if you order a subscription, you get a free burqa with your purchase. But why get so up in arms over a word? Because words offer the means to meaning, as V says in V for Vendetta, and words are the articulation of ideas, of powerful ideas that can shift paradigms and spark change. Feminism is one such word. It is not an extremist concept, gender equality, but again, it threatens a status quo of patriarchy that is deep-rooted and strong. And that is precisely why we must use it, and use it proudly. But for those who aren't convinced by my unfunny reasoning, allow me to show you someone who can melodically and comedically convey the need for the word and the idea of feminism.
interview with a young actress, said she wasn't a feminist. This outspoken actress was on the A-list. Sorry, but I just can't resist. What on earth are you picturing? Castrating men while wearing sensible shoes? You must not know what feminism means, 'cause a feminist is you. You're a feminist. Sorry, babe, but you're a feminist. I just think you don't even get the gist if you say you're not a feminist. Millennial women were truly happy for you. You feel empowered, and that was the goal, it's true. So many of your rights are guaranteed today that you can't imagine things were ever any other way. I'm so glad you don't have to deal with this much crap, but to give the feminists who came before you a bad rap. I mean, dude, they even gave you your free pap. So why don't you just shut your yap? Only about this, though. Say anything you want about anything else, all your opinions, and don't let anyone tell you can't, 'cause you're a feminist. Yeah, babe, you're a feminist. Just take a look at the checklist. You like voting? You like driving? You're a feminist. Past feminists gave their lives to let you vote and be more than wives. Saying you're not a feminist gives them hives, although they're dead and buried, so it's hard to see. You try to explain it's 'cause you don't hate men. How do we have to go through that again and again? It's not about who's better. Here's my proof. Lots of men are feminists too, right? Where are my feminist guys at? Yeah! You want to argue that we're post-feminism? Well, tell that to American conservatism, or post anything opinionated on the web without a death threat from some misogynistic head. Yeah, Jesus, you're a feminist. Yeah, babe, you're a feminist. All your ideas would have been dismissed before there was a world of feminists. A feminist is described as a person who believes in social, political, and economic equality of the sexes. Why is this so confusing? With 20 women senators out of 100 and only 79 congresswomen out of 435, that's like 18%. No, wait, shit, I can't do math, and you know why? 'Cause fucking Barbie told me it's hard! And if that makes you mad, then just accept that you're a feminist. Yeah, babe, you're a feminist. Yeah, I had Barbies, so it's 'cause my mom didn't want to make me weird. But this isn't just about me and you, it's about girls who get stoned for just going to school. Which human is twice as likely to live in poverty? Yeah, I'm seeing boobies. Yeah, but no, you're not a feminist. No, not you, you're not a feminist. You know who else isn't? Boko Haram, Rush Limbaugh, the Taliban. You might want to call yourself a feminist.
I had the pleasure of sitting down and talking with Katie Goodman this past week about her work and this viral video, discussing feminism, activism, and why comedy is her medium of choice. Take a look.
So comedy, by definition, you're like stepping back from the issue in order to be able to say something ironic or point out how horrible it is, all the misfortune. And in doing that, I think it's a healthy thing for not just the performer, obviously, but for the audience, because it allows them to laugh at something that we're all so exhausted by. And I know the one thing that makes me the happiest is when people leave my shows, and shows like ours, is they're like recharged.
In the songs Apathy and Why Is This Shit Always Happening to Me, you celebrate, sort of as George Carlin would have said, the little things that we all share. But I also like that you ridicule these sort of first world problems. Like, I'm too busy to fix the world. I know it's a mess. Like, I dropped my phone. How do you see people, like, getting past that? Like, getting past the, oh my God, my life's over because I dropped my phone. Meanwhile, there are starving kids in Sudan.
It's interesting because I don't know if you want to start talking about the song yet, but the feminist song, because it's sort of been about that. Like, in a way, in a way, the question of whether to call yourself a feminist is a very small question if we're talking about just semantics and definitions, and that's like a first world discussion, like who really cares? But it's a microcosm of all the problems that we're still facing, and the fact that I'm having so many comments on YouTube and Twitter and stuff that, or even on the BuzzFeed and Huffington Post and stuff, that are saying like really, really subtly misogynistic things. And I guess I also just keep coming back to this a little bit, maybe what you're getting at, but like, if my sisters in fucking Afghanistan and India, Central America, if they're wanting to use the word feminist, like we need to get out of just America, these feminazis, blah blah blah, and look at like we're talking about wife burning.
And obviously you still need feminism because that shit's happening. If that wasn't happening, then maybe we could have the conversation about letting go of feminism, but because it's still happening.
I'm shocked. I have to tell you, Eleanor, I'm just shocked at how we're still having this conversation and how divisive this little song has become. And you can see immediately from the comments, people either absolutely get it or absolutely are the people I'm talking about.
Were you expecting such a pushback? Were you expecting people to go full crazy?
No, because I'd only played it. That's the first time I'd ever played it, was the video in front of a 700-person audience that are my fans. So I knew they were going to like it. I had written it just out of like outrage at reading the Shailene Woodley interview over last summer about her saying she's not a feminist. And I love her. So, I mean, I'm certainly not like dissing these women. My whole point is like, come on.
I just finished reading Men Explain Things to Me. So in there, she draws the parallel between liberation from patriarchy and liberation from crony capitalist society. So the interconnectedness of issues is something that I'm really fascinated about. And I'm curious in your work, because you've done everything from, Glenn Beck is batshit crazy to this feminist song, but of course, all of it is part of your activist expression. Is there anything that you feel that you focus on specifically above others, or is there anything that you feel that deserves more attention, or do you just sort of go at things with whatever passion you feel based on a comment that you read or something like that?
Yeah, we have a lot of napkins, or we used to, with notes written down from dinner, with friends. Now we text each other. My husband's song I write together. So he's an excellent feminist. He's the one who took women's studies classes in college. So sometimes he calls me out on stuff. That's great. I'm not hugely educated on economics, right? Although I completely love Occupy and those issues, and I kind of leave that to you and Lee camp to take care of, and things that people understand more deeply. And I kind of go more with the things that really strike my heart, which is obviously gay issues and women and environment.
How would you tell people that they can get started in activism, and even just a small way that parallels to something that they're either already doing, or how do you get connected with those issues that would really mean something to you?
I don't think my inclination is towards there's a lot of people who write letters and create events, which is great. I mean, events like protests, and that's awesome, and I will show up. But for, I guess what I would just throw out, since it's not the norm thing, is to just get incredibly creative and do things in ways you haven't done them before. But one great one, a caveat to that would be, especially young women, is to run for office. Please run for office. I'm not going to do that. That would be horrible. But that is something I really think is hard to want to do. And as I do a lot of Planned Parenthood fundraisers, and so I'm meeting a lot of these young women in their early 20s, and a couple I've met a couple 23-year-olds who are running for state rep and stuff. And I'm just like, this is fucking awesome. They're amazing and brilliant. But I would just say, yeah, civil disobedience in art is, of course, the way that's what I'm interested in. And I can't tell you what that looks like, because the whole point is it looks like something that's never been done. So whatever person is going to come up with, and and it doesn't have to be music, dance, spray painting the side of a building. I mean, it can be starting a meme, or it could be, something, I mean, just a hashtag that's really clever, or one photo, that makes it around, like Jenna Pope or something. But like, and those are so exciting because people are like, ooh, haven't seen this before. And then they fucking pay attention.
Thanks so much to Katie for joining us. For more information on Katie Goodman, visit her site below. For further listening, I highly recommend starting with I Didn't Fuck It Up and Apathy. Now, let's go from dirty words to dirty wars in this week's Get Cozy segment. For those of you new to the show, this segment is all about activist books and movies that are both educational and engaging, because I would never expect you to do what I do and watch C-SPAN. God, even their logo is boring. Now, it feels a bit wrong suggesting that you get cozy and watch a movie documenting our secretive long-term wars across the globe, but you may at least want to grab a good glass of alcohol for this one. Dirty Wars is a film based on the like-titled book by journalist Jeremy Scahill. The film follows Scahill as he travels through Afghanistan, Somalia, Yemen, and other countries on the US's list of stops for their War on Terror tour. Through his research into civilian death cover-ups, he uncovers the existence of a secret military force called JSOC, Joint Special Operations Command. This highly secretive unit is responsible for an untold number of raids, arrests, detentions, and ultimately murders that, in Scahill's words, made the War on Terror a self-fulfilling prophecy by radicalizing citizens in these areas. Not surprising when you consider a family that lost several members to a US raid, including 2 pregnant women. Or this little girl who's barely old enough to play with Barbies saying that missiles attacked her. Or the Yemeni journalist who was sentenced on terrorism charges after reporting on US drone strikes. Yes, the illusions shattered and the propagandized war machine exposed in this film are not necessarily uplifting. But something that the film did, that all such films and books and videos and songs do, is bring attention to the dark, dark corners and caverns in our government. It started a serious conversation about these secretive dirty wars, about drone warfare. It helped inspire protests like this one outside of Hancock Drone Base, where on March 19th, the 12th anniversary of the US's illegal invasion into Iraq, activists shut down the drone base with the use of books, one of which was Dirty Wars. The 7 activists from the Upstate Coalition to Ground the Drones and End the Wars also held up a banner quoting Article 6 of the Constitution, stating that every treaty signed becomes the supreme law of the land, i.e. treaties that prohibit the killing of civilians and the assassination of human beings. Now, to continue this conversation and learn more about the movie, book, and the Upstate Coalition, take a look at the list of sites included at the end of the show. From drones to nuclear weapons, let's shift to Iran. Last week, negotiators reached solutions on key parameters in a nuclear agreement that will be finalized on June 30th of this year. Some of these solutions include converting nuclear facilities to ensure weapons-grade plutonium cannot be produced, and the dropping of EU and US sanctions against Iran. Here to talk to us more about this deal and the future of diplomacy in the military-industrial complex is anti-war activist and co-founder of the peace and social justice organization Code Pink, Medea Benjamin. How do you feel about the Iran talks and the deal that was reached last week?
I feel great about it. I think it's wonderful that the Obama administration is finally using diplomacy instead of military options. And I think the deal is one that obviously has to be worked out in the details in the coming months. But it's really interesting, Eleanor, the way I see it is that on the one hand, you have the vast majority of the American people that want to see a peaceful resolution of this. You obviously have the people in Iran who want to see it, and the whole world community. And you have the Obama administration that's chosen the diplomatic path. And then you have Congress. You have mostly Republicans, but some Democrats. And to me, it really shows how broken our system is, and that these people in Congress don't respond to what the American people want, don't respond to what's in our national interest. They respond to their own moneyed interest. but hopefully they won't have their way this time.
And because of that, because there's such a clear division between Congress and the people's wishes, do you feel that this push towards diplomacy was really due to anti-war efforts like yours and Code Pink's?
Well, first, let's recognize that it's due to the change in the Iranian government that they voted, and they voted in a moderate leader who said he was going to negotiate this deal, and that this is something that the Iranian people really wanted. They're the ones that are being affected by the sanctions. I was there in November, and I met with all kinds of people. In fact, I think the most fascinating group I met with were a group of women professional business people. And each of them had a story to tell me about how the sanctions had affected their business, which I thought was quite ironic when you think the US talks about how bad the position of women is. And, we often couch our interventions as trying to liberate women in the Middle East. And here were these very highly qualified women who run their own businesses who are being hurt by our policies. So I'd say, the Iranian people, the Iranian government. And then, yes, on the US side, I think our activism has been really important. And it's not just this recent activism. Many of our groups have been working to try to stop a war with Iran for many years now. So I would say we've been very much a part of the picture that hopefully will result in a final nuclear deal.
And how are you going to continue your push with your anti-war activism now that diplomacy seems to be working? Will you change your tactics, or how will you deal with this news?
I think the next couple of months are still very critical months, and we shouldn't put on our guard and say, aha, there's the outlines of the deal and now we can relax. So I think the next coming months are really crucial. We've been working again in coalition with a number of groups to target very critical Democrats that have either signed on to one of the two bills, either the Corker bill or the Kirk-Menendez bill. The Corker bill says that Congress should have the right to give a heads up or down on the deal. And the Menendez-Kirk bill is to increase the sanctions on Iran, really designed to make Iran walk away from the table. So it's important that these two bills don't get a supermajority.
Do you have any thoughts on what you think the June 30th deal will look like, based on your experience?
Well, I think there's, obviously in the outline, it's pretty clear that there's going to be a great concession on the part of Iran, and they're going to be open to unprecedented inspections. But there's one other thing I wanted to mention, Eleanor, and that is, I think, the way all of this has really vilified the Iranian people. The calling Iran the tentacles of terrorism and all these kinds of horrible things. Well, there's two things. One is the US government really needs Iran to come to any kind of solution to the incredible amount of crises in the Middle East right now. Iran is very much key, whether it's dealing with the Houthis in Yemen, or it's dealing with the ungovernable situation in Yemen, or the catastrophic war in Syria and the spread of ISIS in Iraq. Iran is really a key part. So hopefully, if this deal is concluded, the US will be working more closely with Iran to try to come up with political solutions to some of these other problems. But to get to that point, we have to do two things. One, we have to raise a lot of questions about the US alliance with Saudi Arabia and educate the American people more about why Saudi Arabia is so much a part of the problem, and the US cozy relationship with that country is so much a part of the problem. And the other thing is to humanize the Iranian people. Sure, the Iranian government has lots of problems. I don't think we should be saying we're great supporters of the Iranian regime. So one of the things we'd like to do, and you and your listeners might have some ideas, is how, particularly in the coming months, we can do events around the country, we can do online actions, that show the beauty of the Iranian culture, Iranian music, Iranian food, a campaign like We Love the Iranian People, to really build the bonds of friendship between people in this country and people in Iran, because it's those kind of long-term interactions that are very helpful in stopping our governments from fighting each other.
How could people get involved with these ideas that you're talking about, sort of humanizing the Iranian people, or just in the anti-war movement in general?
Well, certainly we'd love people to contact us at Code Pink, and the website is codepink.org, and you can write email to info@codepink.org, or find us on Twitter. And we are working with a really wonderful coalition of groups. And if people contact us, we can put you in touch with this larger coalition.
Thank you so much to Medea for joining us on the show. For more information on Code Pink and to get involved in all of their creative activism work, as she said, visit codepink.org and get in touch. Before we finish up on the front lines, I want to throw out a little mental morsel for you to chew on. Drone strikes and perpetual war do create extremists by hollowing them out and creating an ideal receptacle for violent ideologies. Hate and resentment seek answers, seek validation, and violence is such an easy outlet. Wrap this extremism in a shroud of piety and suddenly you have God's blessing to avenge yourself, your country, your people. And this is not a Middle Eastern phenomenon, a Muslim issue. This is human. We want order in the chaos. We want shelter from pain and suffering. We want answers. In Anand Gopal's book, No Good Men Among the Living, he interviews a high-ranking Taliban official who says that his life was aimless until he joined the Taliban, that they provided a welcome home for unsettled youths like him who were repulsed by the chaos, brought on by the Russian invasion, civil war, and then, of course, our clusterfuckery. Whether it be social media campaigns or well-programmed spokesmen, these extremists offer a simple solution for a problem that is layered with complexity, for the aimless and hopeless, those who seek answers, revenge, and validation. Yes, we have created many extremists, but the answer to ending extremism does not only lie in grounding drones, silencing guns, and bringing troops home. Extremism must also be fought where it all begins and ends, in the mind. You cannot bomb someone into submission, so you cannot bomb them out of extremism. The quest for answers is the breadth and depth of our human minds. It can be a dark but very important side of humanity, something all too seldom appreciated or taught. Imagine teaching humanity instead of programming God. Imagine giving answers by allowing people to ask questions. Imagine celebrating each other, the person in front of you instead of the ghost above you. What you need is what you have, the ability to fucking think and take pride in thinking, take pride in debating, take pride in the ability of our minds to think critically and abstractly. This is the antidote to extremism, fucking thought. We cannot evolve past the ideologies that destroy us until we destroy them and ourselves, and stop bombing the shit out of innocent civilians. And that soapbox philosophy was brought to you by a pensive humanist. Finally tonight, let's wrap up with a quick Frontlines segment. Take a look at some of these memes and messages from the anti-war movement, starting with a powerful hashtag and image, Don't Iraq Iran. After the slideshow, we'll have the list of all the sites we mentioned in today's show, including a link to help support Occupy.com. We are a donation-run organization, so anything you can contribute is hugely appreciated. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and subscribe on YouTube. Good night, and act out.